This is KOOP HD1 HD3 Hornsby, radio for people, not for profit. Welcome to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show. Each week, we explore how your library is more than books. The library is knowledge, technology, and inspiration for our community. Hi, listeners. This is Kanya Lyons. I'm your host today, and our guest is Jeff Melkerson, who is a librarian over at the Pleasant Hill branch. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks, Kanya. Hello, Austin.
Well, we're so happy you're here to talk to us a little bit about the branch and the neighborhood that you serve over there. But before we get into all that, where do you hail from, and what brought you to APL?
Well, Kanya, I'm from Virginia, and my wife was born and raised in Austin, and so naturally I wanted to move to Austin with her. And when I moved to Austin, I noticed that the Austin Public Library system was a good system, and I wanted to be able to work for that system, and fortunately, it worked out for me.
So were you already a librarian when you got to Austin? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
The Austin Public Library system is the fifth library system that I've worked for, and I've also been an archivist for the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. They're a nonprofit. They crash test cars. So every now and again, I'll watch a car commercial with a car crash scene, and it was the footage is from that facility I worked at. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Absolutely.
Stories.
Yeah, no, I have a few stories, so hopefully we'll be able to get into a few of them later. Yeah.
Well, fantastic. So I guess when we were kind of doing our prep for this show, you described the Pleasant Hill neighborhood as a weird, wild place at the edge of the tech frontier. Can you tell me what you mean by that?
Well, it's kind of riffing and certainly just jotting down some notes. I'd say that the location of the Pleasant Hill Library, which is basically close to 35 and William Cannon,
Gotcha.
They're just west of 35. William Cannon's kind of a road that signifies it's a bit of a boundary, and so I think that most people are familiar with South Austin up to William Cannon, and so maybe south of William Cannon they're not as familiar with South Austin, and so I think it's kind of, for me, it's gratifying and pleasurable to just be at this spot where you have definite elements of what people would call old Austin, and of course you see progress and change. And also, part of that progress and change is maybe coming from North Austin, the typical South Congress area that we all know, and then part of it is moving even further south towards Slaughter Lane. So it's just a very dynamic spot, and also the folks in that community are amazing, and they just have so much to give, and it's such a great spot to marinate in, just as a human being. Yeah.
And when you talk about the tech frontier, are you referring to Austin in general, or is there a tech company near?
There's not a tech company near there, but I think that Austin, to me, is becoming more of a tech town.
Yeah.
And certainly still a music town, but really it's emerging as a tech a tech hub. And so part of that is referencing or homage to the fact that right now William Cannon is kind of like a de facto boundary, for like what people consider South Austin. And then part of that is just that a lot of the folks that come in our library are learning about technology, and we're able to help them learn more about technology. In fact, the Austin Public Library system has initiatives in place that are going to further in Digital Inclusion Week will come up in May, so I'm referring to that specifically, but it's always a priority, and we'll have a specific event for a week in May to kind of highlight the fact that we're all learning about technology.
Absolutely. We just had a meeting about that this morning, and I think we're going to call that week Tech Connect.
Hey, that's cool. I like it.
Oh, good. I'm glad you do. And there are going to be programs at all of the branches, and even the Central Library, and it'll be the whole week, like you say. And a lot of people don't know that the library is really instrumental in connecting people with technology, whether it might be a senior who needs help using their device to download a book or talk to their grandchildren, or
young folks that come in and need help doing homework, or
Sure.
I'm sure you see examples of people, needing computer help or assistance with
all the time. And we're
vision
happy to do
stuff.
it. In fact, the young man that I helped about an hour ago, he's got a job interview tomorrow. Good luck, young man. I know you're going to get the job. So, yeah, we help people with resumes, and we help people apply for jobs online, because a lot of jobs are online based and you have to apply online. We have
Yes.
the Job Connect database that is another resource that if you come in, we can show you, because certainly you can look on Craigslist, or you can look at various commercial or other job sites, but we have Job Connect, and that's just another way to look for jobs. There may be a few jobs on there that aren't on, say, Craigslist, and it's a different presentation as well. It's more of a situation with Job Connect. You can pinpoint where you want to look for jobs, even down to specific areas of the city.
Oh, nice.
And so, yeah, it is. So, and then of course, with the virtual library at Austin Public Library, that's more of an entertainment value that we provide, but certainly we are, we're very competitive. If you gauge us against other commercial offerings, you can download any number of titles. You can choose audio format, book format. You can stream movies, and we have good content. In fact, in some instances, we have more content than the big players in the digital entertainment field. So that's kind of cool to turn people onto that too. And then our databases, we've got some substantive databases. If you're looking to start a business, we've got a special database with all the angel investors in Texas. That's kind of exciting.
Sweet.
Legal databases specific to Texas legal code, so you can get your documents that are related specifically to Texas. Consumer reports,
I use that a lot for
I do
equipment.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, my
That's great.
microwave, I checked that on Consumer Reports, still going after 4 years. So yeah, thanks Consumer Reports. Thanks APL for the free access. So yeah, it runs the gamut.
Absolutely. So for those listeners that are just joining us, this is Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show on KOOP 91.7 FM, and we're also streaming at koop.org. We're talking with Jeff Melkerson, and we're talking about the Austin Public Library, but specifically the Pleasant Hill branch of the library. And I'm curious, can you talk a little bit about sort of the physical layout of your branch? You were saying it's over there off of William Cannon, near just west of 35.
Right, that's right. And so it's actually 211 East William Cannon, but William Cannon doesn't become West William Cannon until west of South Congress. So we're in that little pocket between 35 and South Congress.
Oh, gotcha.
I really think that architecturally, it's going to be the type of building that people will discover in 20 or 30 years, and they'll say to themselves, well, this is a pretty good example of architecture in the early to mid 80s in Austin. So we want to preserve this.
Gotta love that.
I mean, I see
Or
it coming,
not.
and I mean, I personally love it. Certainly, there's fans of all different types of architecture. I mean, even the concrete buildings that were put up in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. People are really into those because you have to get the concrete right. You get one pour. So I mean, but in all seriousness, I think this will be a good representation of architecturally what was going on in Austin in the 80s. It's kind of a low-slung building, at least exteriorly. But when you come in, there's definitely the ceilings are pretty high, and it feels light and airy. It's got a really nice skylight, and you'll see people in the know come in just to take a picture of the skylight. Pretty fashionable people in their teens and 20s that are taking a picture of this, I think, incredible skylight. It's got this pretty intricate wood paneling detail going on, and it's kind of apexes with a square at the top.
So you get that natural light for reading.
Yeah, you get the natural light. It's just kind of interesting to look at, but it's subtle. It's not like it really grabs you. You've got to notice it, and when you do, you're just like, wow, this is a gift. This is kind of a architectural treasure, what have you. And we do have a pocket park, which is pretty nice. And so the thing I like about the Pocket Park, it's adjacent to the library, just across the parking lot, but it's a nature area. There's not a lot of things in there. There's a couple picnic tables, a couple benches, but it's really just 3 or 4 beautiful live oak trees.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've got some honeybees hanging out in one of the trees.
So a pocket park is just a tiny park. Basically.
I'd say so.
Okay. Just making sure I'm on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we kind of started calling that the park the Pocket Park one day, and so I don't know if it's a quote unquote official term, but and then the circle ring in the Pocket Park's an echo chamber. So if you stand right in the middle,
oh neat.
And I think this might have been an accident, but if you stand right in the middle, it echoes and you can hear your voice. And I want to thank I forget the officer's name, but an officer from the Austin Police Department figured that out one day, and so that's kind of cool. So when the kids go to story time, or anyone really, but I see kids mostly utilizing the echo part of the circle ring. They'll come out of story time and they'll want to stand in the middle and hear their voice reverberating.
Oh, so, fantastic.
Yeah. So, architecturally, I'd say I recommend checking out Pleasant Hill.
Cool. Well, so we're going to get more into some of the programs and other cool stuff happening at the Pleasant Hill branch after this break. First, we're going to listen to a short excerpt from a documentary about the work of the Austin History Center in preserving Austin's heritage and archival collection. The History Center has publications, recordings, and you probably know you used to work at an archive. So this little clip that we're going to hear is just the beginning of this documentary that is done by the Austin History Center, narrated by the manager over there, Mike Miller, and it was produced for the Austin History Center Association by Alpheus Media. And then after that, we'll get back into this conversation with Jeff.
Sounds great, Kanya.
Thanks.
There's been a running joke dating back, all the way back to pre-World War II, that the population of Austin was perfect when I got here. So anybody came after me is too much.
I moved to Austin in 1995, and it's really different.
Tremendous growth. Every time you look around, you're seeing cranes putting up new buildings all around town.
I don't know what the heck's gonna happen. I mean, it already kind of seems like it's a little crowded. It's a small city as it is.
It takes a lot longer to get places. That really cuts into Margarita time.
My great-great-grandkids are not going to know the real Austin.
I moved here in the 60s, and that was back when there were hippies everywhere. I was actually one of those guys.
It makes me really sad that people from the future aren't going to know how wonderful it was and how fabulous Austin was in the 1990s.
To me, the real Austin died in about 1870. All I'm saying is this: I used to be able to take my carriage downtown, and I used to be able to go in, have a sarsaparilla at the saloon, listen to the piano player, but now I can't even find a parking place for my carriage.
The Austin of today is definitely not the Austin of when it was founded. More than 100 people are moving here every day. So when you have that much change happening that rapidly, you also have that much history being created. And we need to save that history.
The Austin History Center is kind of a hidden gem. Everybody has driven down Guadalupe past this architecturally significant building, but not really known what it was.
The Austin History Center is the local history division of the Austin Public Library, and we preserve the history of Austin and Travis County. All the materials that are created in going about daily life in Austin, our job is to try to document that experience.
My name is Blair Parsons, and I'm a librarian at the Central Library. Each week, I highlight a few programs for adults that are happening around the Austin Public Library. Our full list of programs may be found on the library's events calendar. Tonight, March 28th, the Menchaca Road Branch Library will host a Foster Community Information Session. Caseworkers and representatives from child placing agencies will be available to answer questions about the application process. This community forum for individuals or families interested in supporting children in foster care begins at 7 o'clock tonight, March 28th at the Menchaca Road Branch Library. Friday afternoon, March 30th, Tree Folks will be giving out free saplings for spring planting at the Willie May Kirk Branch Library. A tree-themed story time will be offered for kids, and the sapling giveaway will be from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock Friday, March 30th at the Willie May Kirk Branch Library.
Hey there, Austin. Teen Program Specialist Michael Harley from the Downtown Central Library here. The library has a venue for all kinds of talents to take the stage. Teens can strut their stuff at the Read It, Sing It, Let Us Hear It open mic at the Carver branch on Saturday, March 31st from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. With a full mic setup, patrons share music, poetry, comedy, improv, theater, and performance art. Talents of all levels are welcome. More details for these and additional programs can be found at library.austintexas.gov/events.
This is Monica Lozano, Youth Librarian at the Ruiz branch. I get to highlight some information for children this week. Music and movement is one of our most exciting story times. Bring your favorite little one to stretch, sing, dance, and explore music with rhythm instruments. Program length time can vary, and it focuses on the sing and play recommendations for early literacy, which help to develop gross motor skills, listening skills, and social skills while introducing new vocabulary. This story time is recommended for ages 3 to 5. Music and movement is offered at the following locations: Wednesday, March 28th at 3:30 p.m. at the Ruiz branch, Thursday, March 29th at 11 a.m. at the Housen branch. For more information, go to library.austintexas.gov/storytimes.
The Texas Talking Book Program provides digital audio, large print, and braille books and magazines to Texans who cannot read standard print due to qualifying visual, physical, or reading disabilities. Reader advisors are on hand to help navigate patrons through thousands of titles available for download to our free digital audio player. To see if you qualify or for more information, visit www.texastalkingbooks.org.
You're listening to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show on Co-op 91.7 FM and KOOP.org. Radio for people, not for profit.
Co-op is local and shares the Austin experience with listeners all over the world. This is Rebecca Melanson. I'm the Executive Director of the Austin Independent Business Alliance. Think local, be local, buy local.
Hi there, listeners. Welcome back. Before those announcements, we listened to an excerpt from a short documentary about the work that they do at the Austin History Center, Austin's archive, Austin and Travis County, as a matter of fact. And so the whole video is actually on the Austin History Center's YouTube channel, which is actually a veritable treasure trove of Austin's history and cool stuff. So I'm just going to leave that there. Now we're going to get right back into our conversation with Jeff Melkerson, who works over at the Pleasant Hill branch and as a librarian. Mm-hmm. And I've heard about some elaborate displays that are happening over there. Tell me about that.
Well, when I began to work at Pleasant Hill Library, I noticed that the displays were distinctive, they were custom, they were unique. And so I simply observed what was happening. And we've got some staff members who are stupendously good at creating displays, two in particular. And one staff member, she goes on Pinterest, and so she'll find cool designs on Pinterest, and then she'll kind of conceptualize what she wants to do, and then she'll find the materials that we have in the library. And as you might imagine, these materials run the gamut because there's no budget for this. So she's just kind of creating things from whole cloth based on what we just might have around. And cool. It's really cool. It's really cool. So for instance, I got specifically right now, she's got a Bratz doll that she has like combed the hair out of. And so she's got the hair completely styled. She worked on that. And the Bratz doll is going to be like jumping out of an airplane. And it's something, I think the tagline is going to be fall into summer or something like this. But, for instance, she's got like a bike that two of the wheels are CD, compact discs. And she's got like a campfire scene. Some of them just grab you, but some of them are really subtle. You have to kind of look. But I think she's got like fishing weights, like as part of like the logs, so it's very intricate. And sometimes it's big, so you can see the intricacies, and sometimes it's really, it's smaller, so you have to kind of look, but always it's an attractive display. People talk about it. pretty certain that people come in once a month just to see what the staff member comes up with. And so, like most libraries, we have end caps. And so she's responsible for 4 end caps plus a 5th end cap that's a little bit further away. And the 5th end cap is fun because there's like a metal tree, and she always has a cat in the metal tree, but she'll decorate the tree. And some months the cat's kind of obscured, and some months the cat is not, but you'll see children in particular come in and they'll want to spot the cat. And so visually they've got, if you really want to and think about it, and I just did actually for the first time, I mean, visually that's good for their development because they're seeing this object that doesn't move, which would be the cat, but the surrounding material or objects changes month to month. And so the kids, they like that, obviously. And our other staff member, she's super good at highlighting diversity and culture. And that's something that is very important. And so we have a quote board, and she will highlight various quotes by individuals that have inspired her. And many people come in to read the quote board, and it changes a couple times a week. And so again, it's a very fluid, dynamic situation. And so even if you're a library regular, there's something visually for you that's going to change very, very frequently. And then she's responsible for the one of the end caps. And so I remember last year, one of her displays that really stuck with me was she took a map of the United States, and she wanted to highlight Native Americans. And so she somehow figured out all the Native American tribes in North America before Christopher Columbus came to discover the Americas, and she put little pins in each location and a little flag, and then there was a key down below, and we're talking thousands of Native American tribes. And
wow,
yeah, it was great. Visually it's extremely exciting to see all those little push pins in person. Kind of, some are spaced far apart, some are not. They're kind of bunched up together. But then also you just really learn what was going on in North America before a European explorer set foot, I believe, in Cuba. But regardless, that's not a part of history that is normally highlighted. And so for me, it was very beneficial. And I ended up reading a book after seeing that display that went through the history of North America before discovery in 1492. So I recommend the displays at Pleasant Hill. They're amazing.
Well, so it sounds like, the Pleasant Hill fits right in with that sort of South Austin DIY, artsy, funky vibe.
Connie, you've hit the nail on the head. And so, I think that's important to Austinites, the funky DIY, artistic sensibility. And it's going to be in Austin no matter what. That's something that you can't, that you won't take. Personally, I don't believe you'll ever take that away from Austin, but I think it's important to know where the different permutations are. And I think that in the Pleasant Hill community, there's just kind of more of a linear progression from, say, what folks would think about Austin in the 80s or the 90s or the aughts, and that vibe is pretty linear still in the Pleasant Hill community.
It's alive and well. Austin is alive and well in the Pleasant Hill area.
I feel like it is, Con. Yeah, I can't speak for everyone, but
nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so for those listeners that are just joining us, this is Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show on KOOP 91.7 FM and streaming at koop.org. And today we're talking with Jeff Melkerson about the Pleasant Hill branch of the Austin Public Library. And so we kind of already talked a little bit about technology, access, and assistance at the Pleasant Hill branch. So if there's something you want to add to that, you can. Otherwise, we can move right into, after your 15 years of working in public libraries, do you have any do you have any great stories? Can you tell me a few of these great stories? I'm sure you already have some.
I do. And one that I think about from time to time would be a particular summer. I worked in a downtown library location, and the town I was in was going through an extreme drought. And so, among other things, this was my first exposure to hand sanitizer. It was kind of new on the market. And so...
back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. Yeah. And so what the town decided to conserve water was they turned off all the water in city buildings except for the toilets. And so instead of washing your hands, you would use hand sanitizer, so on and so forth. And so once a year there was a garlic festival. Yeah. You can't make some things up. And so this was a pretty popular garlic festival. And so you're talking, at least 10,000 people in a park directly adjacent to this main downtown library. And in years past, folks and attendees at the festival would simply pop into the library because it was close and use the facilities. And so this particular year, they were in for a pretty big surprise because not only was the scent of garlic in the air, but I guess garlic plus a little hint of hand sanitizer. So that's a Saturday that I will never forget. And it ended up being a really fun Saturday. But if I wanted to replicate that day again, I don't think I could. That was a pretty special
I don't know that
day.
you'd want to.
Oh, yeah.
Once in a lifetime.
Yeah, once in a
enough.
lifetime. Yeah, I'll always remember it. But yeah, probably once in a lifetime's for the best on that one.
Well, we're getting kind of down to the end, but I was hoping you could, before you go, recommend a couple of your favorite items from the library's collection.
Absolutely. Well, an author that I like to read is James McBride. He's got a really good breadth of subjects that he writes about. And if you're going to start with one book, I would recommend The Color of Water. And I have a personal connection. His mother and I went to the same high school. His mother's from the same town as myself in Virginia. And I think once you read The Color of Water, then you'll want to get into his other books. So I just think he's a great author, and I recommend him, James McBride, out of Brooklyn, New York. And then, for the parents out there, we offer what's called Brain Fuse, and it's online homework help, and we talk it up as much, or we mention as much as we can, but I want to mention it again. From 2 to 11 every day, school-age children up through college can go online and get online homework help with a professional educator,
a live tutor that they can chat with,
exactly,
share their work with,
exactly, and it's pinpointed. So let's say you're in second grade, you want help with language arts. Well, then you can select that, and the software layout is very similar to the software layout that colleges use, and so I think that's another added benefit. But if you're not familiar with Brain Fuse, I recommend checking that out as well.
Brain Fuse, yeah, that's a cool thing, and all that kind of stuff that the library has online is accessible just with a library card. But we're out of time, but I really appreciate you coming and telling us about Pleasant Hill and
Absolutely.
a little bit about the resources we have. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. I was happy to be here.
Oh, great. Well, so we do put these recommendations up on the library's website. Details about that and just about this show in general are at library.austintexas.gov/volumes. And that's also where the podcast of this show is located if anyone is wanting to listen to previous episodes, or if you miss one. We want to thank our media and communication volunteer, Federico Pacheco, for his help this week, and of course, DJ. And thanks again to Jeff for being on the show. And stay tuned to 91.7 and KOOP.org for Rock and Roll Pest Control.
Thanks for listening to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show. Special thanks to our producer, DJ Harris, and to the musicians who composed and performed our original theme song, Andrew Noble on violin, Kirk Duvall on guitar, and Mike Wheat on percussion. And thanks to you, our listeners. Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show, airs Wednesday afternoons at 2:30 on Co-op 91.7 FM and koop.org. If you catch us mid-show, full episodes and other details can be found at library.austintexas.gov/volumes.